What's up, guys? That really gross guy here. We are back, and today I am going to be showing you guys how you are going to be getting Excalibur if he was not your choice in your first setup. So first off, you need to go to Mars. Mars is fairly early unlocked in the game, and you're going to want to come over to the node called War, and this is where we are going to be fighting Lech Kril. Lech Kril does drop the Excalibur parts. You're going to need 3 of them, and then on top of that, you're going to need to purchase the blueprint from the market. But as we go on, you'll see up in the left-hand corner the Excalibur that I am going to be running with. This Excalibur has the Prisma Gurkata set up on him, the Magnus, as well as the Anku. I am going to actually set him up with very specific mods for this, you know, because you guys will probably not have the mods that I do at this point. So what I'm going to do is set them up with some very basic mods that you can see here. I will be keeping it also under 30 mod capacity, because I do know that most of you probably have not put any Forma into your Warframe and probably have not potatoed your Warframe at this point. So I'm going to make sure I keep it under 30 so that you guys can either copy the build or use it as a template to maybe do something with it as well. If I think about it, I will also leave a little bit of room for you to you know, add something or maybe upgrade these mods to make this a little bit easier for you. So you'll see that I'm going to run with Vitality Redirection for my survivability, Steel Fiber, because that is, you know, going to help me a little bit with survivability as well. I threw Stretch on there just because you probably have a Stretch at this point. I believe there is a damaged version of Stretch, so I only put mine 2 from the top. There is also a damaged version of Intensify, so I put mine 2 from the top, and that is all stuff that you should be able to utilize. And then you do have a little bit of room to do what you would like with that. So on top of that, the Prisma Gurkata. I know that most people do not have a Prisma Gurkata, but basically it is similar to a Gurkata with maybe like a level 2 Serration on it. So if you have a Gurkata or if you have a Breton, it takes very little to make it as strong as the Prisma Gurkata. So for that reason, I am also going to, I'm gonna not max it out. Once again, I'm gonna keep it under 30, and I'm actually probably going to leave it with some room for you to bargain with as well. So you can see here that the Gurkata, not too much stronger. A Serration on there would, you know, the damage Serration you get in the beginning would easily make up for those lost points. So up here on the Magnus, same thing, going to give you some mods to work with, some room to work with, and some mods that are not too bad. So we have arrived on this tile set, and Lech Kril is here. So he is going to be our boss fight, and he's not all that hard. He is probably the hardest boss we have faced up to this point. If you have fought the Jackal, you know, he's not too bad. Excalibur could make short work of the Jackal with his Exalted Blade. You can't quite do that here with Lech Kril. The idea behind Lech Kril is he has this backpack type deal on, and this thing is your target for the most part, trying to do some damage to him. Look out for these Hellions that are flying around. They're probably the one thing you definitely need to look out for in this boss fight. If you keep a little bit of distance between you and Lech Kril, he won't be able to hit you all that often. And what you're going to want to do is, like I said, try to get over and take some shots at his backpack whenever you get the chance. When he slams his hammer down and ends up going into that frozen state, that is when Lech Kril is vulnerable. So you're going to want to target him when he's vulnerable. So, like I said, the only way to make that happen is to do that damage to his backpack. You'll see there's a little bit of a light on his back. Right now it's blue. When you hit it once, it turns like an orange. And then when you hit it again, it'll turn off, and then you can expect him to then do a ground slam and become frozen again shortly thereafter. I've noticed it does help to kind of get a little bit close to Lech Kril to kind of convince him to use his attacks on you, and then he's going to, especially after you've put the backpack through its stages, he's going to try to do that attack to you to basically put himself in that frozen state again. So you'll see here that because I have kept my weapon levels fairly low, I'm not going to be using Exalted Blade in his frozen state because I don't know if you guys will be using Excalibur or not. I'm pretty much going to rely on my weapons and like my first ability, my second ability from time to time. But if you've decided to go with some of the other frames, you like Mag or Volt, you shouldn't have a problem with that. Your abilities, like Mag's pull and Volt's shock, can pretty much clear out these enemies just like I do with my slash bash. So it's very possible you'll need a revive or two in this mission. You do have 4 to go through if you absolutely need them. I've made this a lot tougher on myself just to show you guys that it is possible to do on your own. So there we have it. I also I've managed to put his backpack through that stage, and once again he is into his frozen state. So we're going to put on as much damage as we can while he's in that frozen state, and hopefully, with a little bit of effort, you can get his health down fairly quickly. I've ran out of ammo in my Grakata, something you probably would not end up doing if you were running your Breton, but especially if you have good mods on it. But anyways, I'm over to my Magnus, showing you that it is still possible. Just putting down enemies left and right that are near him, getting him to that frozen state again, putting as much damage onto him as possible. And what you're going to end up finding is that as you've put him through that stage a number of times, he's going to go into this second level of I don't know, like level 2, stage 2 of his attacks, and he's going to light himself on fire. But at that point, he makes himself completely vulnerable to damage. His backpack took too much damage to the point where he can no longer sustain that invincibility, I guess. And he is going to start attacking you much more viciously. But because of that, like I said, he is completely vulnerable. Lay into him with everything you have. If you do have, your primary weapon with lots of ammo, that is probably the way to go. But you can see here, I've pulled out my secondary, and I've easily managed to take him down, even with all of that done. This can be a fairly lengthy fight, depending on how often you can get him to go into his frozen state, how often you can get him to turn his back to shoot at his backpack, and then of course you having to manage the other enemies in the area. Now, if you are Excalibur, when he goes into that fire state and it is vulnerable, that is a very opportune time to get out your Exalted Blade and just absolutely destroy him. Like I said, I didn't do that just for the sake of showing you guys that this is very possible without an Excalibur. But we will be fighting Lech Kril again very soon with Captain Vor, so they will be 2 bosses in one single fight. And I'll show you guys in that fight how important it is to run your Exalted Blade. The good thing is, this fight will give you Excalibur parts. So if you feel like, I really wish I chose Excalibur in the beginning of this mission, you can now choose Excalibur and you can now get your Excalibur and use that Exalted Blade on some of these bosses. So if you have not farmed up Rhino, and you can go back to Jackal now that you have farmed up Excalibur and make short work of him as well. If you want to go over and fight the Sergeant, you can, the Sergeant is already pretty easy, but once again, you can use your Exalted Blade, absolutely destroy him, and you'll find Exalted Blade for quite a long time is going to be absolutely incredible at taking down enemies and bosses. So, but there you can see Excalibur chassis. You can get the other parts by fighting this this over and over again. And I wish you guys luck, and I hope you guys enjoy Excalibur. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Blow!